Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you've just tuned in earlier today in the first hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, we spoke with Terry Sabiston, who is the Daytona International, from the Daytona International Speedway, who is our Daytona affiliate WNDB. 1150 AM and also the 93.5 FM. We're simulcasting there. Thank you, WNDB and crew. We appreciate that. The Daytona Rolex 24-hour, more than 55 cars will take the green flag after 2 this afternoon, and there's a lot of activity going on there. So hats off to our affiliate there in Daytona for covering that station and for covering that race. And it's just exciting times, and I can't wait till the 500. We have the Daytona 500. The Speed Weeks has started in all fit form and fashion for sure. I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Power Frame Grid Technology. Batteries may all look the same from the outside, but it's what's inside that really matters. Get a battery with the technology to be stronger and more dependable. Look for the Power Frame logo on the outside for true strength on the inside. You can learn more at powerframe.com. I'll take your calls, or Kim will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic, and we'll put you on the air when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis with today's Fact or Friction. Brought to you by Royal Purple, the performance lubricants that outperform. Fact or friction. Heat caused by radiator surface tension can be damaging. Fact. Water's natural surface tension causes a disconnect between the coolant and the radiator surface. Think boundary layer. In effect, this boundary layer reduces the radiator's available area to transfer heat to air flowing across radiator fins. A radiator additive can serve as a wetting agent, which smooths water flow and reduces surface tension, thereby lowering engine temperature. When choosing a radiator additive for your vehicle, consider Purple Ice. Purple Ice, compatible with all coolants, is not only a wetting agent, but also a corrosion inhibitor. Add Purple Ice to your radiator every time the cooling system is flushed. Visit RoyalPurple.com for all the Purple Ice advantages. Then pick up your Purple Ice today at Pep Boys. Okay, folks, let's take a question from the Car Clinic inbox from John in Tennessee.
Bobby, I drive a hybrid, and I'm conscientious about servicing and maintenance to keep it in top shape. My friend talks about K&N products and says I should try them. He's a hot rod kind of guy, but I'm more of a green type person. That's why I drive a hybrid. What K&N products would make sense for me?
John, for the performance and the green guy in you, K&N air filters have you covered. Most K&N air filters are washable, lifetime air filters, so K&N filters can stay out of the landfills. And unlike paper air filters, which are made from trees that take years to grow to maturity, K&N air filters are made from cotton, a quickly renewing resource. And being green doesn't sacrifice performance. K&N air filters are engineered to deliver high airflow for quicker acceleration up hills and on freeway entries, and for a maximized driving experience. For the K&N air filter just right for your hybrid, drive to knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Geico Auto Insurance customers are frugal people. They value $1, and they save a lot of them by switching. To prove my point, I'm joined by a real live customer, Erica Willis. Erica, will you give me $10,000?
No.
There. Proof that Geico customers do not like to part with any more money than they have to. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. You could keep 15% or more of your money. 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Home. It's the place you like to make warm and inviting. What could be more welcoming than the aroma of fresh coffee brewing? When the coffee is Starbucks, the experience only gets richer. You'll find Starbucks coffee at your grocery store, so you can enjoy it at home. Its distinctive roasting style and rich, authentic taste show how seriously we pursue the art of coffee. Savor its aroma, then pour a cup and invite your senses to take flight. Starbucks coffee at your grocery store.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have a car question or just want to talk cars or a question about wiper blades or tires or oil, that's an environment that I have lived my life in, and it's exciting to me. I say exciting because when I drive an automobile, whether it's my car or one of my customers' cars, I'm in tune with that vehicle. That's the technician in me, but it's also just where my head resides. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that if you've got a noisy muffler or a rear axle bearing or something, you don't want to say, let's go to lunch in my car, because I'm going to 2 blocks down the street, I'm going to say, did you know you've got a, yeah, I know, I got to take care of that. So I share that with you because so many times, and this is especially historically has been true for husbands and wives. The wife will drive her car, and she'll have a noise and mention that to her husband, and he'll get around to it, which he never gets around to it, and finally the noise becomes really annoying. And for some reason, and this has happened multiple times in my history of a shop owner for 40 going on 44 years, folks, and so finally a husband will drive the vehicle and says, "What's that noise?" Well, it's the noise that I mentioned about 6 months ago or a year ago. And then next thing you know, we see the automobile in what was an axle bearing, or it could have been just a simple axle bearing, turned into an axle assembly because it's been driven so long. So the point here is, when you hear something or you see something or you smell something that's not right, you don't have to know what's wrong with it. You just have to know, this is my car, I drive it, something's wrong here. Something is not right. I don't know what it is, but take it into your service provider, whether it's Car Clinic Service pre-repair, or whether it's Joe's Auto Repair in Daytona or in Kearney, Nebraska, or in New York. Regardless, you've got to have some car doctor, some car facility that works on your automobile for you, because of the complexity of cars. It's not a do-it-yourself world any longer. There are some things that you can do, and I'll be glad to share that with you with your calls at 888-227-2546. I want to reach out to KREI 800 AM in Farmington, Missouri. Les Tuttle and Chad Speaker, General Manager and Program Director at Car Clinic's affiliate in Farmington, Missouri, KREI 800 AM. If you've tuned in to KREI right now, give us a call at 888 Car Clinic, and I will take your questions. Let's take a call from Nebraska. Keith, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Thank you, and thanks for taking my call, Bobby.
You're welcome, sir.
I'm kind of an ex-shade tree mechanic, and I say ex because things are just too complicated.
Oh, I know they are.
But my question is, I've always tried to keep up on cars, and it's kind of my hobby. But one thing that went right by me was, what if you could give me a simple, quick explanation of what's the difference between a dual clutch versus a single clutch transmission? That one got away from me. Well,
a dual clutch. Of course, now let's talk about dual clutch in as far as a standard transmission, and then let's talk about the dual shaft in the transmission. A dual clutch would be like, say, a Mustang that, typically, Keith, a clutch would have a pressure plate and then a disc, and the plate just simply sandwiched the disc between the plate and the flywheel, and the throwout bearing would release the pressure on the clutch, and so the clutch would slip or disengage, and you could shift gears. So when you say clutch and you say dual clutch, later on, what manufacturers did for high-performance reasons, specifically Mustang, which comes to mind because we had to replace one recently, they've reduced the diameter of the clutch. It used to be, say, 11-inch clutch was a big boy. They've reduced it to like 8.5 inches. And what that does, when you reduce the size of the circumference of the clutch, you reduce the square foot area or square inch area of contact. So how do you make up for? How do you make an 8.5-inch clutch hold 11.5-inch monster of a motor? You put dual clutch there. So you stack the clutches. Then you have in between. You have the flywheel, a clutch, another little locator flywheel or a disc in the clutch, and then you have another disc, and then you have the clutch. So in other words, you've got the pressure plate and the flywheel, and you've got 2 discs. So now you've got equal to or greater pressure points and grabbing area, just like the square inches of grabbing area, and with a smaller unit that's lighter, and because it's more compact, it can spin RPM faster. So on a dual clutch, that's a dual clutch. Now, let's shift gears, no pun intended, go inside a transmission. A dual clutch transmission, like paddle shift, and Audi is one of the first cars. Well, Ferrari, obviously, in Formula One cars, but they actually put the manufacturers have 2 shafts. And so as you know, you can't be in 2 gears at one time. You understand why? Because it locks up, right? Right. And that's why shifters and shift rails have detents, so that you can't physically put a transmission from first to second gear, and you can't go. It won't go into second gear, that shift rail, without the first gear being disconnected in that detent. So it's a detent that won't allow one until the other is out. And so when the shift rail moves, well, what they've changed with the dual shaft is they have 2 shafts, and they have one that's in first gear and the other that's in second gear. But one of them, the clutch is released on the second gear, so that when you go to shift to second gear, all the electronics has to do is release the solenoid, the hydraulic pressure on the first gear, and tighten the pressure on the second gear. There's no shifting involved because the transmission is already there. Already engaged. And so you're running first, second, third, fourth. I mean, it's instantaneous. And so from a standpoint, and it's amazing to me to watch and I know you've seen this, Keith, Formula One cars, or the same cars like in Daytona. I was watching, today is the kickoff for the 24-hour Rolex, and here's a car running 200 miles an hour down the front stretch, and then they've got that little hairpin turn that they turn into the infield, and you can hear them going, blipping the throttle, and they're going, say 10,000 RPM, go blip, 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 and next thing you know, they're going from 200 miles an hour to 80 miles per hour. It just amazes me at how quickly, and the only way they can do that is because the transmission is already in whatever selective gear it needs to be in. Now, that's a little more technical than that, but basically that's what it really means. It's like having 5 transmissions or 10. I mean, look at what Ford's going to come out with a 9-speed transmission. My car, which is a luxury car, has 8 speeds and paddle shifters. And of course, it's not a dual clutch, but it's still a very rapid fire transmission. I wish it were a little more rapid fire, but because it's a luxury car, the manufacturers
smooth it out.
Well, yeah, the manufacturers want to. It's called accumulators, and if you've got a clutch pack and you've got you feed hydraulic pressure to it, that engages the clutches. Well, how fast do you pour the fluid or push the fluid in there determines how quickly that clutch locks up. So first or second might be a you've got that little soft which I don't particularly care for, but most drivers would really like that versus a harsh instantaneous lockup. For me, I would like I would like to reduce the shift timing in my personal car 50%, and then it would still be smooth, but it wouldn't be that sort of meander into the next gear. And believe it or not, the transmission would last far longer because you're slipping less as you engage the next clutch. So does that sort of overall address your question?
Absolutely, and I'm sure I took up more time than you anticipated, but I appreciate the explanation. Now I feel like I can talk halfway intelligently about it if I'm hanging around the shop or something.
There you go. Hey, thank you, Keith. Thanks for calling.
You bet. Take care.
Folks, this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Royal Purple, my choice for all synthetic oils and lubricants. And I want to share with you when I say my choice, I want to share with you what we're going to initiate in my own service shop. And there's a reason for this initiation. It's sort of a rollout of this information right out of the chute. HMX, which is Royal Purple's high-mileage engine oil, we're going to use exclusively on our customers' cars that break the threshold of 75,000 miles. And we're going to do that because it's a better way to protect our customers' cars at HMX. So if your car has more than 75,000 miles on it, Royal Purple's HMX is the perfect oil for you. And there's a difference in the formulation. They've actually boosted the protection in the HMX with added chemicals and formulation. Hey, when I come back, I see that we're going to have Rich Dwyer on the line with us from K&N, so we'll hear more about K&N filters. Don't touch that dial. I'll be back. Don't let old man winter keep you indoors this season. Let General's Ultimax Arctic make anywhere possible, no matter the weather. The Ultimax Arctic features unique grooves and sipes, maximizing snow, ice, and wet traction in all directions. While its modern compound offers outstanding performance in low temperatures, it's the perfect tire to get you where you need to go this winter. Tweet us photos of your winter adventures at General Tire. Hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
My car's a sauna. What's with this air conditioning?
You need an AC Pro.
Know any?
Yeah, you.
You got me confused with somebody else.
You're a pro with new do-it-yourself AC Pro, the 10-minute cold air solution.
But
You know where to find the hood?
That thing up front?
Exactly. AC Pro's easy, fast, and saves you money. You'll have your car's AC blowing cold air in minutes.
I did it! It's like a freezer in here.
Be a pro with new AC Pro, the 10-minute cold air solution.
Got a sweater?
I'm Bobby Likis with today's Engine Care Spotlight, brought to you by CRC Industries. Things just work better when they're clean, and your car's engine is no exception. You can't stop carbon in the fuel system because it's a byproduct of combustion, but you can limit and reduce the number of carbon deposits on your intake valves, piston heads, cylinder walls, and injectors. Adding CRC motor treatment to your fuel cleans these engine components and lubricates upper cylinders, helping cure hesitation and pings, and also restores power. Keeping your fuel system clean is only part of the solution. Stop-and-go driving, dirt, moisture, and extreme operating temperatures can cause sludge buildup in your motor oil and ultimately lead to power and performance loss. So adding CRC motor treatment to your oil will help liquefy built-up gum and varnish, cleaning sticky valve lifters and piston rings very slowly during engine operation to prevent chunks of sludge from clogging oil flow. Find more automotive maintenance solutions at crcindustries.com or find them on Facebook.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Live from Progressive. Flo here. Today we're talking to newlyweds.
Hi, my husband and I are combining our policies, and my mother-in-law says we can save with Progressive.
Well, with online, homeowners, and multi-car discounts, saving on car insurance is easy.
So you're saying she's right?
I'm saying get used to it.
Get great savings and more at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Mayfield Village, Ohio. Discounts not available in all states. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Mikey steals the tissue. He breaks right. Now left. Clock says 3 a.m. He shoots the tissue and, off the lamp and into the basket.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
Go to sleep.
Uh-oh, there's a heckler in the crowd.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Delighted to have you join us today. Call you with your questions at 888 Car Clinic. K&N Engineering, as you well know from listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, is the world's leading manufacturer of washable performance air filters and air intake systems. And as we have in the past, but I want to welcome to the 2015 Car Clinic broadcast, global cast, Rich Dwyer of K&N Filters. He's on the hotline. Actually, Rich, as you well remember, is the manager of K&N's warranty department, and he's joining us today for a special segment that we've named the K&N Consumer Corner. Rich, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you too, Bobby. How's things going out there?
Just terrific. And I want to get into K&N filter world because gas prices, high-performance cars, new Corvette, new Vipers, new electric vehicles, they all have to do one thing, and even the extended-range electric vehicles have to breathe air. And K&N's built its reputation on innovation and cutting-edge filter technology, speaking of breathing air, and the same held true for this past year. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers K&N's product introductions just this past year alone.
Boy, we had a busy year last year. We introduced a line of cabin air filters, washable, reusable cabin air filters, which have been very well received, and we talked a little bit about it last year. That's been a great product line for us. We introduced fuel filters, replacement fuel filters, and also small electric fuel pumps. Some are pretty high volume, but those are aftermarket for like your hot rodders and people like that. We introduced over 30 new intake systems and over 140 new filters that we developed last year. So it was a busy year for us. In fact, it was such a good year for us that we added an additional 220,000 square foot building to our complex here, and that puts us, I think, around 600 and some thousand square feet under roofs.
Well, to that end, let's take a look at 2015 because it's no secret that American consumers change their buying habits and attitude based on economic conditions such as, and you know where I'm going here, fuel prices. How does that affect K&N for 2015, and what's the price there in California?
Bobby, I paid, I think it was around $2.21 a gallon this morning at what would typically be a premium gas station. So the gas prices, you can feel it in the air that people are feeling better about things. We've talked about many of the vehicles being introduced. One that's gotten a lot of press lately is the Ford F-150. They invested a fortune in that new truck with so much aluminum, yes. And with the gas prices, they were wondering, was it going to sell? And truck sales and SUV sales are just doing very well right now, which means that the buyers are feeling good and is absolutely, starting to cut loose with a little money and spend some money, which is for us in the aftermarket too. It'll trickle to us. The new car sales, the guy's going to want to take it out and fix it up and do something, and we're usually one of the first things they do to it. So we're very optimistic.
We're talking with Rich Dwyer, manager of K&N's warranty department, and a little more than that. This gentleman is the person that you'll talk with if you have a question about your particular filter. And Rich, while I've got you, I got to tell you, it's really great that folks out there who are tuned in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and folks across the globe for that matter, if they have a question about a warranty or a question about their filters or their cars or fitment or any of those, not only can you go to knfilters.com and see video online and get horsepower measurements, but you can actually reach a real person there at K&N headquarters, even though you do have almost 700,000 square feet. Let's shift gears. K&N cabin air filters. What about the big truck market along with the engine air filters?
Oh, we will be developing for them also. In fact, I was just with the air filter manager, the product line manager, and we've got a whole line of heavy-duty truck cabin air filters that are in development. So that'll give us, just like on the standard passenger car, we'll have oil filters, air filters, fuel filters, cabin air filters. When that vehicle needs air or fuel, it will pass through a K&N filter, Ryan.
That'd be
idea.
That would be a fresh breath of air. You see K&N filters on all segments of racing and performance vehicles. I know that's the performance air filter of NASCAR. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers maybe some racing events that K&N has planned so we can make plans.
Well, you'll be able to see it at the NASCAR races, the NASCAR Pro Series. We're going to be at the NHRA Winter Nationals in Pomona. We're going to be at 10 or 12 NHRA events. We're also going to be at several large truck shows, like the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky. If they're racing a vehicle with an internal combustion motor, we're probably going to be there. But if you go on knfilters.com, at the top to the far right about K&N, you can actually open up and look at an event schedule where we'll have the large event rigs there.
I just got one final burning question that I recently had discussions with General Motors about the next-gen Volt. And, of course, I've also had conversations about the new Bolt, the B-O-L-T, which is a 200-mile range, $30,000 EV car. But the Volt, of course, had the extended range, and the next-gen Volt has, and Rich, you'll appreciate this, if you'll, in our audience, audience remembers, a muscle car, 427 muscle age, had 11-to-1 compression ratio. The new next-gen Volt extended range, the internal combustion engine that breathes air through a K&N filter, which is my question to you, but that engine has 12.5-to-1 compression ratio. Can you imagine that?
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
And just think about, why would they take a 1.4 engine and then create they being General Motors, and create a 1.5 with 12.5-to-1 compression ratio, and it's all about having an engine that's more powerful. And here's a car that's destined and designed for improved MPG, but it has a larger engine so it can charge the battery that drives the electric motors, and that engine at 12.5-to-1 compression ratio, it's going to breathe a lot of air. So
it is.
How long before K&N actually develops a filter for brand new cars that are just out or just coming out?
Well, we do a lot of work with General Motors, so the chances are very, very likely that we have information on that airbox and that system, and I'd be surprised if we weren't already verifying a lot of data on that and getting ready to produce a product for it.
Oh, not to interrupt, but just one question I have, Rich. What about this upcoming seminar? Give our listeners just the hashtag and what time that you'll be available and your colleagues will be available for that event.
That's right, Bobby. Myself and Stephen will be manning the Twitter account, and it will be an Ask K&N campaign that we have, and it just use the hashtag AskKNN, that's ASKKN, and just tweet in your question. We're going to have a lot of people participating, and that'll be on February 4th. That's a Wednesday, February 4th from 1 to 5 Eastern Time. We'll be on Twitter, and we'll answer any questions you got, so hope your listeners connect with us.
Rich, I want to thank you for joining me on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. It's always a pleasure to have you. And again, we'll have to get you in the studio when we get you from the West Coast to the East Coast.
This year's the year. Let's do it this year.
Okay. All right. Thanks, my friend. Thanks for joining us. And folks, Rich Dwyer, K&N, and go to knfilters.com for more. Rich, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Bobby. And you guys have a great day.
And, it's always great to hear from Rich because he's the man that he shared many stories with me over the last 3, 4, 5 years with K&N, especially one that I'm reminded where a gentleman says, I can't buy a K&N filter, and he had a Chevrolet Impala. It was a standard car, just like you and I would drive, and he reached out to K&N, was really upset, actually got upset at Rich because he said, well, it sounds to me like you've got a one-off Chevrolet. He said there's no such thing. And as the story went, the gentleman called him back the first of the week because, indeed, Delphi had been modifying and designing a prototype airbox, which is where the filter goes. And this particular single one-off Chevrolet Impala street car, folks, came through the showroom floor and was delivered to the customer, the owner that wanted to that just happened to want to upgrade to a K&N filter, and it was a Delphi airbox. It was never supposed to leave the factory. It was a prototype. It was something they were working on in design and airflow. And the owner finally called Rich back and said, hey, I apologize. I didn't mean to be so harsh with you. He says, indeed, I do have, and I found out. And Delphi said, we will give you air filters for as long as you own that car, because they being Delphi and GM obviously didn't mean to let that car go through. Hey, I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. If you've got a question about your car, about oils, about anything, tires, you name it. I speak about tires. There are some really great tires on the market. So you give me a call. I will share with you what I think are some of the best brands and some of the best buys of the day. And when you think about buying tires or oil or wiper blades, best, what does that mean? Is it the cheapest? Well, if you want to protect your vehicle for a long time, it certainly wouldn't be the cheapest. That would be not what I would recommend. And, of course, with the experience that I've had for 40-plus years in the business, I can tell you right now, you do get what you pay for. And not that you should pay more than what your share is, but certainly when it comes to servicing your car, when it comes to the products that you buy and put in your car, you need to know the difference. And that's what we provide for you right here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. 888-227-2546. there's a lot going on in the aftermarket, in the automotive aftermarket. And there's a lot going on with the OEMs. And when we come back, I want to share with you, I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. But we have another really neat interview, if you will, that Christiana actually produced for us. And she and I will talk to folks from the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. And she spoke with Ken Bukowski, who is the GMC Canyon Marketing Director, and live from the North American International Auto Show at Cobo Hall. So when we get back from this break, I'll share with you, and we'll hear what's going on with the new GMC Canyon. Gas prices. I mentioned gas prices to Rich when I was talking with him, and I'll share with you the regular grade dollars per gallon, including all taxes, again for the 10th week in a row, is less than it was not only a week ago, it's less than it was a year ago. We're looking at $2.06 national average across all regions of the U.S. I mean, that's the East Coast, the West Coast, Central Atlantic, Lower, Midwest, Gulf Coast, Rocky Mountain. And even on the West Coast, $2.38, as Rich said, he filled up this morning, Rich Dwyer with K&N, and he said Californians are loving that. So I got to tell you, it's great to be able to fill your car up for half what it would take normally, or at least for just a little more than half than what it was at one time. So again, the gas prices, $2.06 for the week, this week, national average. When I come back, we'll take a call from Tom in South Dakota, and I'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Don't touch your dial. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. Be sure to choose a battery with PowerFrame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. To find a retailer near you, visit powerframe.com. I'm Bobby Likis with today's Drive Smarter tip, brought to you by Escort, the world's best radar and laser detectors. Lime green and orange, not fashion shades, the color of car fluids on garage floors. Lime green says radiator coolant. Orange hints leaking transmission fluid. Catch these fluids on a newspaper and show them to your technician. This Drive Smarter tip is brought to you by Escort. Check out Escort's Drive into Summer event going on now through July 18. Don't just drive, drive smarter. Escort.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another great place to use Visa.
Is there anything more satisfying than watching a snowflake fall, gently carried by a delicate breeze to the welcoming earth, and then thrashing it on a ripping snowmobile? If you want to have fun in the snow, make tracks to Unicorn Expeditions in Lake Parlin, Maine, where the cabins are as cozy as the trails are smooth. But if you want to buzz the powder, you better bring your Visa card, because at Unicorn Expeditions, they take kindly to sled heads, but they don't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
So, how about you and I getting together?
I don't know. I have to get up early.
Mom, on the phone!
Oh, sorry, dear.
You live at home?
Looking for a home? Click on to Realtor.com and search over 1.3 million current home listings. Plus, you can find useful information on schools, financing, even take virtual tours. And when you're ready, you can click and connect with a Realtor.
Hello? Are you still there?
Yes, dear, I'm right here.
Realtor.com. It's the place to start when you start looking for a home.
Hello once again, and welcome to How Stupid Can You Be? The show where folks tell us all about the outrageously stupid things they've done. Please join me in welcoming today's guest, Sarah. Now, Sarah, you're 23 years old, and you recently did something really stupid, didn't you?
Yes, I bought alcohol for my younger brother and his friends.
Wow, she bought alcohol for minors. That's one of the stupidest things anyone could ever do. Am I right, audience?
Of course I got caught, arrested, charged with a felony, and I could get up to 6 months in jail.
You tried to buy alcohol for minors and all you got was trouble. That's all for now, folks. Coming up next, a man who performed his own root canal at home. How stupid is that?
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Underage drinking. It's arresting behavior.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house. I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. What fun. We've had really a lot of fun today. And as I mentioned earlier in the first hour, we had Terry Sabiston to join us from Daytona Live, the Daytona International Speedway, because the Rolex 24-hour starts a little after 2 today, and that's 55, more than 55. And I started to say cars. I would hardly call any of these vehicles cars. They are racing machines, and it's unbelievable at the thunder that they're going to see around that track for 24 hours. Can you imagine running a car wide open for 24 hours? And as I understand, a driver can only sit in the seat for like 3 hours. And I'm not positive on those rules, but I'm sure that's a long time. And you've got some drivers that are better at night and more comfortable at night driving. And you think about a race car, you think about a fast engine and tires and those sorts of things. But these cars have to have wiper blades and wipers and headlights and running lights and night lights and brake lights because they have to go rain or shine, and they will at the Daytona International Speedway for the Rolex 24. Let's go to South Dakota and take a call from Tom. Tom, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I had a 2012 Jeep Wrangler. We haul mail, so it's a right-hand drive, especially to that point. She drives it 6 days a week, 116 miles of gravel. Oh. And the 2012, we replaced the original engine wiring harness at $14,000. We replaced it again at $30,000. We replaced it once more. So it had 3 engine wiring harnesses in the time frame that we had it, and it they could not believe that it needed a wiring harness the second time. So we changed the main computer, and we messed with this and we messed with that, and finally Chrysler helped replace it. They gave us a discount on a new one, so we got a new 15 1st of September, and we've got almost 15,000 miles on it, and it is exhibiting exactly the same issues. Check engine light comes on, traction control light comes on, engine derates. It'll drive up to 30 miles an hour and it won't shift, and so you let off on it, right, and it'll shift into gears. And I'm just curious if anybody else in the world has had this issue, or are we just the lucky ones?
I think you're just the unlucky ones, Tom. No, number one, it's common, as you know, for mail carriers to replace tires and hubs and drums and disc brakes. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
And in fact, there's a really neat lady from Nebraska that I hear from time to time who is a mail carrier. And then I have another listener over in Alabama that had 480,000 miles on an automobile with the original valve cover. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And when you think about a car that drives every day like 100-plus miles a day. Now, let's shift back to the wiring harness. Were it my vehicle, I would try to be proactive in cleaning the harness. I don't know what that means. And when I say I don't know what that means, I don't know what went bad with the first and the second harness, and it's impending going bad with the new harness. And so what I would want to do is, and of course I don't know that you know those things either, because the first one was obviously just a bad experience and you chalked it off and went on. The second one, wait a minute, this is not right. Until the third one. So I would want to know what part of the harness is being damaged by the environment. And then let's just say I mean, you say under hood. Well, under hood is a lot. That could be, it could be where it attaches to the engine, where the crank position sensor attaches to the engine. It could be where the speed sensor attaches to the transmission or differential, and it's a Jeep Wrangler. So to me, I would want to know what part of the harness, because you and I know the whole harness. The only reason the entire harness was replaced was because you couldn't buy part A, X, and Z. So you had to buy it all. So I would want to specifically determine, because it's possible. And while I'm talking, I'm thinking at the same time, fancy that. And I'm thinking that if we knew what failed, we could look at the vehicle chassis to see if there's a problem with the chassis causing the wire to fail. And
if there's a rub or something.
Exactly. And see, so for me, it's not good enough. Well, the first go around, yeah, it's a mail carrier, and yeah, you got an dusty environment, and yada yada yada. But let's face it. Think of a tank, and think of military vehicles. Now, true, they have more secure fittings, and it's a different animal. But by the same token, I know people who have. There's a customer of mine has a pickup truck, a Tundra, with 300,000 miles on it, and this car drives and runs as new. I've just driven it recently, and in fact, it's made an impression on me as a potential vehicle that I might consider should I ever decide to buy a truck, because the Tundra, of course, it would have to be aluminum like the Ford. But Tom, I would. Does that make sense? And is it? Yes. Are you in a situation where maybe you could not look for damage, but determine what wire is damaged, what circuit, and maybe if you talk to the same technician, what was the problem the last time?
The Chrysler, that when they replace it, I guess they take the wiring harness back, and one would assume that they look at it, but it doesn't appear they did anything.
Well, no, you can't.
I take it in the dealer, and they have changed it out, put a new one in, and it worked, just like it was supposed to for another 12 or 14,000 miles. But I have never seen one after they got it out. I do know the technician that worked on it. He went through it, trying to find a short wire or a loop or something that could vibrate, because it does first show itself,
sure,
on a washboard, bump sort of a thing, and there's it's that much gravel. You're going to have some of that.
Yeah, you're going to have some of that. But I'm with you, and you and I are on the same page. I think we need to take a closer look at what has failed and take steps to make sure that doesn't fail again, because once, that's okay. Twice, that's not right. 3 times, something is causing the wiring harness to fail, and it is not the environment. It's just that this particular car doesn't like that environment because this vehicle has a problem somewhere. So that's what I would have a burning desire to find out what failed and what's causing it, and then when you get to that point, you can certainly go from there. Okay.
Especially on the second vehicle.
Yeah. Really.
Same thing.
Okay, my friend.
Okay, well, if anybody else is having the issue, I would entertain listening to their solution.
Sounds great. We'll do that. So again, if you've got an issue with a wiring harness that fails and this is a Jeep vehicle.
Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah, Jeep Wrangler. Let us hear from you at 888 Car Clinic. Tom, better luck next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. As I promised before the break, Christiana spoke with Ken Bukowski, who is the GMC Canyon Marketing Manager, live from the North American International Auto Show. Let's take a listen, and then we'll take a call from Arizona.
Welcome to Car Clinic, Ken.
It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
What can you tell Car Clinic audiences about the special edition Canyon? What makes it unique?
Well, it's based on our most popular trim level, which is the SLE trim. With that, you get body color elements typically. For example, body color door handles and mirror caps on the outside. So they're all black, an exterior only, and it's SLE crew cabs only. But in addition to what you get with an SLE, we've added some very popular accessories to give it a very distinctive monochromatic black appearance. It's got a unique black grille. It's blacked out all the way around, the encircled part and the inserts. Mm-hmm. We've got black 5-inch assist steps. We've got accessory 18-inch multi-spoke aluminum wheels that have a kind of a dark argent, deeper gray painted insert around the wheel. Gives it a really neat look. It's got a spray-in bed liner. We've added a polished exhaust tip to that. So it's got kind of a dark look overall, but it's got a few accents in the form of that exhaust tip and some of the other just chrome trim elements to it. And on top of all that, the accessories, we've added remote start and automatic climate control, which are two of our most popular options on that trim level.
And do you think this Nightfall Edition is a fashion statement for truck owners or more of a show truck?
It's certainly got that element to it. It's going to stand out just by the virtue of the fact that it's going to be pretty much monochromatic black all the way around. Black is a pretty popular color, so I think black is a fashion statement in and of itself to some extent. But when you just take the elements that I just described and take them from chrome to black, it really makes it a little bit more attention-getting. And exterior styling is really the number one kind of reason for purchase for most GMC models anyway, so it plays really right to what our customers are looking for, just something a little distinctive.
Describe for Car Clinic audiences the interior of the 2015 Canyon Nightfall Edition and the special features setting it apart from the base model.
The SLE is very different from the base model, and it's very premium on the inside. Most notably, if you're sitting in the driver's seat, you're looking at a soft-touch, high-quality material instrument panel with live stitching. You're looking at trim that if it looks like aluminum, it is real aluminum. It's not a plasticized, metal-looking piece. When you get to SLE, it's a premium interior. You've got an 8-inch color touchscreen on that model instead of on the base trim, a 4-inch screen, and a number of other elements. Power driver's seat, for example, the auto HVAC that I mentioned in the remote start. Just an awful lot of features and amenities, some of which are available on other trims, many of which aren't, but most notably those premium materials. And the IntelliLink system, the Wi-Fi with 4G comes in on that model. Many of those types of premium features come in on SLE, and they're a part of the Nightfall package as well.
And Ken, what can you tell us about the technology? Is this a connected vehicle?
It is. It's got 4G Wi-Fi on the SLE, and it's part of the Nightfall because it's based on that. So you can connect up to 7 devices within 50 feet or so of the vehicle when it's running, and you've got Wi-Fi connectivity. And I've been driving one for a number of months now, and my family and I have made great use of that feature on many trips.
I bet.
It works really well.
Where can our audiences go to find out more information about this vehicle?
We've got some information up on GMC.com right now, and we've got some social posts as well, but there'll be more coming in terms of pricing and availability. We expect to have the Nightfall Edition out to our dealers early in spring.
Well, that's exciting. Ken, thank you again so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Christiana. I'll tell you, Nightfall, that's a very interesting, and I think Ken Bukowski is very well-spoken. He really explains, and I can just see the Nightfall, with this black and then the monochromatic and then the chrome tailpipe and the dash and then the real stitching. And what he said that really was interesting to me, folks, is he said the aluminum that you see in the car, in the vehicle, and of course this is with the SLE interior, is real aluminum. If you see it, it's not that's plasticized aluminum, which is one of my pet peeves for interiors. Okay, we're going to go not to Arizona but to Arkansas and talk with Nathan. Nathan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
My question is, I've got a 2005 Chevy Silverado 5.3 liter. It's got 95,000 miles on it, and I was just going to see what you would recommend as far as oil, and also I had a couple questions about it. The oil that I'm using now is Valvoline 5W30. So I'll get your recommendation on that. But one of the issues I'm having is about every 3,000 miles, about the time it's ready for an oil change, that thing is about 3/4 of a quart low, not quite a full quart low on oil. And as far as I can see, there's no leak or anything anywhere on it, underneath. So that was one of my questions. And then another question is, once in a while, whenever I'm taking off at from a stop at a stoplight, I'll give the truck gas, and it does this kind of rarely, but I'll give it gas, and I can hear the engine kind of rev up, and then and the truck's not moving, and then it kind of it engages, almost like there's something going on with the transmission.
I don't like that sound of that. There are two. You have several questions there, and so first, let me with you my concerns. For that engine, and of course a half a quart and 3,000 miles is not considered, the manufacturer would say that's normal.
Right.
And any time that you have certain use, I mean, if a V8 engine used a drop of oil every 2 strokes or every 2 spark plug fires, it would use a quart of oil, 2 drops. It would use a quart of oil in 2 miles. I'm sorry, if it used 1 drop for every stroke of power, it would use a quart of oil in 2 miles. So 3,000 miles and a half a quart is not a lot of, you could call that normal lubrication. However, having said that, in my service shop, I have seen several of those engines that used oil, and one in particular that the dealer, now the vehicle had less than 50,000 miles on it, the dealer replaced the pistons and the rings. The pistons and the rings. So that tells me that what I would recommend is you check with your local dealer for any technical service bulletins or any existing known problems with your specific vehicle, and they can categorically check it because they check with the VIN number. So that's the first thing that I would want you to do. Number 2, with regard to the oil, that is a no-brainer. If I owned your vehicle, I would put Royal Purple's new HMX, which is high-mileage oil. The threshold there is about 75,000. You're 95, so you're well into the threshold beyond it. So I would definitely use Royal Purple's HMX, and it's a brand-new formulation, and it has extra zinc, and it has extra protection for engines of that age or that miles. It's not age, it's a miles things. But even to that end, as I understand it, there are even some seal softeners in it that help to maintain elasticity. And then with regard to the transmission, I definitely think you need to get a professional to take a look at that, Nathan, because that impending problems. Hey, folks, that's all the time we have for today's Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'll see you same time, same station next week. Like us, you'll love us.
Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. We Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, whether it's menu selections or political elections. So why not at the pump? E15 and E85 provide an American-sourced alternative for vehicle model years 2001 and later and flex fuel vehicles, respectively. Opponents claim that drivers will be confused at the pump. This objection is confusing, as drivers have historically chosen among at least 3 different octanes and diesel. In fact, studies show that Americans do want a choice at the pump by a 3-to-1 margin. In the future, choices will be technology-enabled by innovative blender pumps, which will energize retailers and empower consumers to tailor their fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their need. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Driving a cab in this town can drive you nuts. It's like hurry up and wait. Last week, I'm stuck behind a bus on Broadway when that pastrami on ride catches up with me. Ooh, heartburn big time. Guy in the back seat says, "Here, take a Zantac 75. I say, "What are you, a doctor?" And he says, "Yeah."
Zantac 75 relieves heartburn anywhere, anytime.
A real gentleman, that doctor.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
Sweetie, this wedding reception will need an elegant dessert.
What do you think about the caramel flan?
Darling, I think it'd be perfect, but please, dear, it's caramel flan.
Mother, I really think it's caramel.
It's caramel.
A lot of people call it caramel.
Yes, if you keep a sofa on your porch like your fiancé. We might as well serve kamikaze shots.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
That makes a Milky Way great.